Afternoon, everybody. Crypto Strain here. Absolute honour to have Eric and David from Holochain with us. Spoke about this project many times. It's great they've come on the channel. So welcome, David and Eric. Thanks very much.
Great to be here.
We're stoked to be here.
I appreciate you coming on. I say, we're just talking about passion within the Holochain community. The amount of people who really love your project. You know, I've had so many questions. I've had so much response. I've had to narrow it down. Otherwise, as I say, I've been with you for hours, and I'm sure you've got a lot of things on to just stick with me for two hours or so. So we'll keep it brief because I know you're busy. So honestly, so much to ask you. Say, let's go through as quick as we can. The biggest question I got asked was basically about HoloFuel. It's obviously going to be its own blockchain. Will other projects be able to build on it? When's it coming out? What's happening with the hot token? That was the majority of the questions. You know, everyone's geared, but when's HoloFuel coming out?
It's all you, David.
Okay. Firstly, hey everyone, I'm David. I'm the commercial director, and we've also got Bear. I just want to introduce Bear. Bear, you introduce yourself quickly, and then I want to give a shout out to you.
Hi, I'm Bear, and I'm the director of ecosystem growth.
Cool. And so, Richard, one of the things you're saying is there's a lot of excitement about the project. I think there's two layers of that excitement. So I think firstly from 2018. When there was, a wave of projects that came in that ICO mania. I think from an investor's perspective, as far as I can understand, you had Chainlink and Holochain were pretty much the only two that remained profitable at all times and then built and grew. And my sense is, because we've got a very different approach to networking, consensus, etc., and really a model that flips the blockchain model on its head. There are a lot of people that were deep into technology that got very excited about the Holochain design, one from a technical perspective, and then also got really interested in the currency design. But there's also another world, which is more Bear's world, and he and team do an absolutely phenomenal job at what would it look like if this kind of approach was the standard in technology? What if our systems were distributed? What if there was no central ownership? What if that you could create currencies that are really ways of representing monetary and non-monetary value? And so Bear, one of the things Bear is phenomenal at is taking that passion and enthusiasm and supporting people on their own growth and journey, and making not just their projects real, but making this real in the way that they work and live. So I think we've got a movement that actually what we're doing really matters to people, not just in the crypto world, but also way beyond the crypto world.
Yeah. Okay, that's great.
And also we haven't even touched on hosting. So in terms of HoloFuel, let's just go really quickly for everybody. So for those of you who know the hot token, it's effectively a pre-purchased credit for HoloFuel. So HoloFuel is effectively a crypto accounting system that powers the Holo hosting network. So for those of you following the project, you will know that Holochain is the underlying protocol for distributed applications. And not everybody wants to use a distributed application by running Holochain. People like using their mobile and using the web. And so you're going to need a way of hosting these applications so that any users any web users can use them. So then you have to build this hosting network. And to power the hosting network, when you want to pay hosts in a distributed way, it's fine when you've got Amazon Web Services or Google Cloud, because for them to pay their hosts, well, they don't have to. They buy the machines and it's all within one company. But we've got this distributed network, so someone needs to reward the host. Otherwise, my Holoport's just going to be sitting there and I'm giving free compute. So to pay the host, you need to do have a currency that's distributed. You need it to be able to handle microtransactions, and you need the settlement to be instantaneous. You need it to be incredibly lightweight. And finally, with hosting, you need to break the fixed supply crypto tokenomics model on its head, and you want to do something much more like the sharing economy model, which is effectively when you have more demand than supply, you have a price surge, right? And so more supply comes online, and then the price comes back to where it was, right? And so you've basically got a stable price for taxi ride or renting out a room in my house, and that will change with long-term dynamics. So taxis might become more expensive because petrol goes up, etc. And HoloFuel works the same way. If compute price reduces, then the underlying nature of the price of computing will change. In other words, the cost of hosting will change. But fundamentally, that is the design. So it's a variable supply, very lightweight, fully distributed, really crypto accounting system that is built on top of Holochain. And to finish the final part of that question, yes, so you can build any distributed application on Holochain. There's probably 30 that are actively being developed. There'd be 500 over the last few years that people have, in various forms of development with different forms of Holochain. You can issue your own currencies and accounting systems on top of Holochain. You can build your distributed applications, and you can kind of build any blockchain application. And a simple way of describing it is, in any other blockchain, you talk about how to build a smart contract. Whereas in Holochain, it is just an application. There's no such thing as a smart contract. You're just running a distributed application. And that's my long-winded answer.
That's fine. No. So the hot token, will that continue once HoloFuel's out?
Yeah, we've addressed this a few times in AMAs. The finalities of how the swap work will obviously we'll release in our channels. But where we are currently is that the hot token will be the bridge into the Holo hosting network. And so there'll be a one-to-one swap where you can move in and out of the hot token into HoloFuel for a period of time. And the hot token will be the bridge rather than purchasing hosting with Ethereum or Bitcoin or US dollars. The hot token will be the bridge and will act as the first reserve currency.
Okay, so if you hold hot tokens on an exchange, will that automatically swap to HoloFuel?
No. So we will manage the swap process, and there'll be a lot more information on it. So we're not going to. It's quite a different process, because if you think about our currency, this is a currency that's actually designed to power a hosting network, and so you will be redeeming your hot into our reserve and then issued with HoloFuel.
Okay.
Right, and so you would be. I'm sure an exchange, might follow suit after, but yeah, what we'd expect to see is people using the reserve initially, redeeming hot for HoloFuel, and then the supply of hot will just be diminishing, and then over time that will change. Over time, as the hosting environment the demand increases, then there'll obviously be a lot more hot redeemed and a lot more HoloFuel in circulation.
Okay, that's fair enough. A lot of people ask that question about hot tokens on exchanges, what's happening to them. So that's got a good answer. Thanks very much. That was a lot of the questions. But someone also said, is there you've got a lot of partnerships planned and sort of marketing to put HoloFuel out there more? Holochain, have you got partnerships waiting? You talked about the dApps being created. Is there going to be more partnerships? Is that in development?
Yeah, so I think maybe Bear, do you want to start with this one? I was going to rock, paper, scissors you. I was just in a flow, but go. And then I'll jump in.
You keep flowing. I'll pop in if needed. This is nice.
So we really think about it a little bit differently. So ultimately, is there a demand for distributed hosting?
Yeah.
Right. Is there a demand? Are all of the organizations in the world happy with the choice of hosting right now, which is either your own servers or Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and a few alternatives, right? I think the answer we all know is yes, there's a demand.
Yeah.
So Then we look at, well, are there any competitors doing it? So when you do the research on different blockchain hosting projects, they're actually all hosting with one of the centralized cloud providers, because we can't turn a blockchain into a hosting application.
No.
Like it just fundamentally can't work, because even if you had limitless transaction speed, the fundamental orientation isn't an application orientation; it's a transaction orientation, right? And you're trying to order data in different ways, which you don't need to do in a hosting application. It doesn't matter if this host served this application or this data at a time that was earlier or later than another host, right? What one host does and another host does is irrelevant to the network. What matters that is every interaction is in integrity, and that you've got a way of managing that integrity. So yeah, given all of that, we know there's a product market fit, and we know that the competitors aren't coming from the blockchain space. But if you're not in the blockchain space, how do you do a currency that powers this hosting network? So how would you pay? Because you can't pay in a fiat currency, and you can't pay in a cryptocurrency because they can't do settlement like this. So given those two things, our focus is to build a hosting business that's the first truly distributed application on a holochain, then the first truly distributed business in this way. And I think, like, in terms of partnerships, the amount of value that will be unlocked in all forms for all parties is absolutely phenomenal. So I think it's just a little bit of an orientation. We don't need to be within, we don't need the two types of partnerships that are normal across the crypto world. One is partnering with other crypto projects to do your validations that we're credible in the space. And the two is do your partnerships with big centralized providers to show that your blockchain or your project is credible in the eyes of the business world, right? So they're the two primary forms of partnerships, both valid and great for that game. But our game is a little bit different. It's to offer an alternate to centralized cloud through Holo itself. And so we just need to build a phenomenal business.
So there's the question of the partnerships is, I'm glad that you answered it, David. First, the thing is that it's there. I would say it in a less in a maybe a more critical way. Is there's a normal pattern in the crypto world, which is it's just an it's like an institutional expression of a normal social pattern, which I personally don't love when I experience it in social settings, which is people show up and they go like, I'm really cool, and someone else goes, oh, I'm really cool too, and they go, okay, we're really cool, and then oh, and that person over there, they have they want people to think they're really cool too, so let's go over to them. You're really cool and we're really cool. We're like, okay, now we're a little club of cool people, and let's go out. And then people are like, hey, everyone, look, we've got our arms around each other. We're this group of cool people, and we're a real group. And people go, oh yeah, you're a real group. And because that's the industry standard. So people always ask us, like, why aren't you following the industry standard and showing up and giving us the signal that we can trust you, which is that you've got a bunch of other people who say trust us and trust each other, right? But a lot of it's BS. Like, a lot of it's BS. So what really matters is, like, it's not the actual signal to be looking for if you want something that's going to be like, what you're looking for is reality, or something that's like creating something real and useful. You look for the people that are making stuff that's real and useful, the people who are like doing the more making of it than they are talking about it. And like talking about it to get people to talk about it, to talk about it, to talk about it, to talk about it. And yeah, we're doing that. We're with you talking about it right now. We're doing some of that. We have to, like, obviously, and it's important for people to get that, but it would be wonderful if people could get that the most important signal of whether or not this project is going to work is, does it exist? And does it continue to exist at an increasing level of maturity over time? And does it continue to prove that it works at an increasing level of functionality? And then if you look at what we've been doing, it does, and it is. And it's just like, it's not glamorous. It's not like foaming at the mouth. It's just consistent progress in building something useful. And then we have people that are consistently building useful things on top of the useful thing we have that no one can use yet. Like, we're not at that place yet, but we're going to get to the point and we've started making some. You can feel it. You can feel that some shifts have started happening, right?
Yeah, I'll see your
We're going to get
roadmap.
to the point where things are just real, and people go like, "Oh crap! I can build this thing that I couldn't build before on Holochain because it's real." And then like people aren't going to be able to build real stuff on it until it hits that level of maturity anyway. So any giant talking that we're doing between now and then isn't really going to matter, because inevitably, if you look at it a long-term picture, this hand comes in. If you look at a long-term picture, you just want it to be real. So like it just needs to be consistently becoming more real, and more people will come on at the stages they can make things. We're just different from most of the industry, which plays a different approach, I think.
Yeah, some people rush their projects, don't they? Then there's sort of issues with it. But I say your roadmap is very good on your website. Is there another roadmap coming out? Because when you look on your site, and I'll put the link below, but that's a very sort of advanced roadmap, isn't it? There's a lot there to achieve, isn't there? You know, you seem to be ahead of the game already. Is there more coming out? Because that's a massive roadmap to achieve this year, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, so the next release coming is the Infrastructure 2 release, which is so at the moment we have our Holoports. I'll just grab mine. Hang on a second.
All to the Holoports. I'm not sure what
So we have our Holoports running. Where is it? There it is. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
can't feel the thing. Yep. So it's running. So I can log in as a host and run this chat application, Elemental Chat. And the next release, then the hosts are truly hosting that application, and anyone on the web can use it. Then all the things in the roadmap are getting us to the various hosting applications that are required, where we're pretty advanced, because a lot of what's been slowing down the development is testing in a distributed environment, as well as the underlying networking and stability of Holochain. Right.
Yeah.
So if we go back to our original approach, we wanted to build Holo because we were going to because the hosting application, for the reason I described earlier, like you're going to want web users to be able to access Holochain apps, so you need a hosting business to do that, but also to test Holochain. You know, and so having an application is way better than releasing Holochain and being like, oh, okay. Yeah. So Holo is testing Holochain and forcing Holochain to be more increasingly stable, reliable, etc. So as we see now, the current market cap sits at, I think it's like nearly 5 billion. By the time that we get to beta, say it's the same, then Holochain needs to be equipped to handle a $5 billion currency.
Yeah.
That's a decent leap for something for something that is, I guess, an evolution of a technology, but is, say, fundamentally different. So we need to be really sure that this works. Right?
Yeah. Well,
so Holo test this out. Exactly. And it's a currency on Holochain is kind of, in a way, a lot more complicated than a tokenization of a smart, issued from a smart contract. Yeah. So the roadmap is really, you get to Infrastructure 2, web users are using accessing Elemental Chat and experiencing Elemental Chat, and then it's full steam ahead to get to the beta release and all of the pieces that are required for the beta release. So yeah, and we're confident in the way that we're progressing and how much has been built outside Holochain Core over the last 6 months. So I think we're in a good shape.
There's 3 different Holoports, isn't there?
Yes.
What's the main difference? Like, just like storage, I guess, or size? What is the more sort of main? Is that the main difference in them? Obviously, the more expensive you get the different ones, but is it purely like storage, etc.?
Yeah, they just think of them as computers.
Yeah,
and so you just better specs as you go higher up.
Okay, and that's we know more Holoports. That'll be the 3. There's not planned for another sort of different type of Holoport in future development, or is that obviously 3?
Other people are going to make Holoports. There's going to be other companies are going to produce Holoports and sell Holoports, and there'll be a Holoport market. So people will make better Holoports. Yeah. And maybe worse Holoports. There'll be a market. Worse,
There's quite a
worse,
few
like
people-
hopefully worse. Just I mean, like hardware war, not like worse as in like they're gonna like not work. But maybe some won't work, but we'll only like hopefully we'll only say like, you know, like buy from these people who we think make ones that will work.
Yeah, a lot of people are bought, and some people are expecting like return of investment. How much Holochain will they get? You know, I'm not sure how that works. People are saying if they get a lot of uses and all this out of their Holoport, will they get rewarded in Holochain? I'm not sure.
The way that the system works is that right now, when you use an application that has a business model, that like a web app,
Yeah.
whoever owns that app sends some money to AWS to give you the experience. So
Yeah.
the way Holo hosting works is that instead of that computer that AWS owns that's serving you your web app, it's a Holoport that someone like David owns sitting in their house serving you that web app. And if you've got a business model on that app, then it's instead of paying AWS to serve it, you're paying whoever owns that Holoport to serve it, and you're paying them in HoloFuel. And this is the great trick of HoloFuel that is really kind of subtle and revolutionary, is that makes HoloFuel an asset-backed currency. You're paying for the asset of hosting, which is an actual asset. That's a real thing. And you're paying for it with HoloFuel. That's the only way you can pay for it. So that means that it's not tethered like Tether through an abstraction. It's actually backed by the asset, because that's how you pay for the asset, the only way to do it. So that's when the market of Holo hosting, when this distributed hosting market regulates, because markets regulate, hosting is not going to be like, it's not going to go crazy. Then we can have the potential for stabilizing a cryptocurrency like HoloFuel. Like HoloFuel could be a stabilized cryptocurrency, but it wouldn't be a token.
No.
This is the thing that's kind of like a big shift. And it's also important to recognize this is the first thing like this, or one of the first things like this that's getting built on Holochain. Holochain is made to make this kind of thing possible, with people working on an energy-backed currency. Like all of these different currencies then become possible on Holochain that are not the abstraction that a token is. That's only like theoretically tied to something. That's actually fundamentally tied to a real resource, regardless of what the resource is. And you just build elegant systems on it. Yeah, that's where like, oh shit, like this could really change stuff. Comes into play.
Incredible, the volume of transactions every day. That's brilliant. Yeah, so there's a lot of the questions were about that. Some people said, we'll be able to stake HoloFuel in a wallet. You're going to go down the staking route. If you hold HoloFuel on a wallet, would you get staking? You're going to go down that route?
Yeah, let me just jump my screen here. Yeah, so it's so again, wow, it's snowing. This is crazy. In the UK, it was sunny and like 20 degrees yesterday, and now it's a proper snowstorm. Wild. Okay. Anyway, I won't let the weather distract me. Okay, so with the hot token, no, we haven't gone down any of the staking. It's because it's just effectively an inflationary aspect. It's what we're really saying underneath it all is we're not really sure that this thing we have holds any value. In fact, because it's a tokenized representation of kind of nothing that we created. We know it doesn't have any value, but we're all perceiving it to have value. So if you just don't sell it, we'll give you some more of it.
Yeah, that's why that one's such a high percentage, don't they, return? That's why a lot of them do that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's a natural thing that's evolved in this ecosystem. In terms of HoloFuel, So no, there's not going to be inflationary mechanisms by which the reserve issues more HoloFuel to hosts that have earned HoloFuel for hosting, or for people that, because there will be so many economies built on top of this distributed hosting currency because it's asset backed. It's going to be very different from like algorithmic stable coins or US dollar peg stable coins, because eventually it will find a price of this is a representation of compute, right? And from there you can build all sorts of financial derivative products and everything else. I mean, you could be using HoloFuel for all sorts of reasons, or products built on top of it. So I say no to staking in the way that you're thinking about it at the moment. But when you start to see the power of what HoloFuel will be able to offer as a stable asset-backed currency, and we see what people are doing on top of USDT and on top of other stable ERC20 tokens, and I think your imagination can start getting pretty excited.
Yeah. So that was another quick question was when will the Holoports actually be released and shipped? Are they starting in America first, or are they starting in Asia first, or?
So 2,000 are shipped. Just the nanos haven't been shipped yet, which is the lowest spec port, but 2,000 have been shipped and working. So they're the hosts. A quarter of those hosts are currently Elemental chat hosts now, and I expect the rest to come online as you move to beta.
Okay, so if we ordered one today, you'd possibly get it in next few months, would you?
Oh, so they're out of stock at the moment, and so they're all sold out. I'm sure we will be doing a reorder, but for now the focus isn't reordering ports. It's on getting all of the network and moving towards beta, and then we can work it out. And as Bear said, I think personally, he and I are very invested in other people in the ecosystem. We haven't got a strategy of being Apple, like the integrated hardware and software provider. We would like to see high quality hardware providers offering Holoports. As like, I think for both of us, maybe not the same for everyone, but for both of us as quickly as possible.
We're already centralized enough in a system that we're building around distributing technologies. Like we don't want to make ourselves be the giant super monolith. We're already kind of monolithy, and that's like not what we stand for. So a lot of our work is how do we elegantly and in integrity distribute what it is that we're doing and holding, such that at least in the Holochain fashion, right? Holo needs to be a business and function like that, absolutely, right? But even with what Holo's job is to create a platform for people to do distributed work, and then at the Holochain level, as a project, because there's an important distinction between Holo, which is a hosting company, a cloud hosting company for Holochain apps, distributed hosting, and then Holochain, which is an open source framework for building fully distributed apps. And it's something that's easy to confuse because they have confusing names and because we're confusing people. And there's a really clear distinction between the two. And with Holochain, it's really important that the infrastructure around that project be moving in a direction that puts it in greater integrity with what it's been built for. And it's a hard and messy thing to do because it's engaging with social systems and people are messy, and we're not there yet. And it's a consistent complaint that we get, which is understandable, which is like, why aren't you already why isn't it already perfect? And it's like, well, no, we're working towards getting to this future where things are more distributed, and we are starting in this place where we're starting and where there is a small team of people who is making this project now. And we've got to I'm trying to figure out which hand, we got to make our way to this future. And the way there isn't going to be like, we built it, okay, now we're here. It's that we're building it, and we're building it technically, and we're also building the network and community and social fabric that will allow us to actually use the tool effectively to get into this new world. And that's where it's just like doing both of those things is really fun and weird and challenging work that requires the same approach to progress that I was referring to earlier, which is consistently engaging, consistently making progress, up leveling skills, up leveling the technology, growing an ecosystem. Yeah.
It's impatience, isn't it? That's the trouble with it. People just are so impatient and they expect everything out months ago. It's just.
It is true, but Richard,
like
the one thing to add to in terms of the patience, because you get a little bit of that, but ultimately it is harder to completely rebuild each layer of the stack and build a distributed computing framework that allows you to spin up a network that's interoperable with other networks. It is harder to do that than to replicate an existing smart contract, tweak some variables, and deploy it. So I think there is a little bit, at least I'd like to have a big shout out to everyone here who is a hot hodler and has been, involved in the project and a believer in the project, because I think because we have tested people's patience in that way, but ultimately the reason things take long is that, there's so much when you're doing something truly new, you're encountering things that no one has encountered before. So for example, last year, we were way slower than expected with our Holochain core work. And one of the reasons is when we started testing, there are no frameworks for testing distributed applications.
No.
And so when so there aren't, and the reason there aren't is because no one's built distributed applications before. So yeah, there's points in there where we have to innovate in ways we didn't expect to solve problems that aren't encountered because they aren't documented because they haven't been encountered before. So I think I'd like to appreciate everybody for their patience. I certainly know it's been tough for a lot of people, and us included, because we want to get stuff done that we haven't been able to. But I think part of the patience is a much deeper appreciation of what's being built.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah,
I want to do a quick shout out. With just that David, you said that there aren't projects that have built distributed applications before. It's true, and it's sort of true because there are some projects out there that we're friends with that are in the same space and working towards distributed things that I want to give a shout out to. Just to mention, if you're into our stuff, then you might want to check out Fluence, and you want to check out Beaker Browser, and you want to check out Scuttlebutt, because there are other distributed things that are coming into existence, and there's some other ones. And look at the Internet Archives does some really great work around DWeb stuff. I'm making these references for people who are interested in what it is that we're creating in the world. Those things aren't useful if you're doing investment stuff. I don't know if any of them have investment opportunities with them. It's really actually just the people that are making the new kind of distributed infrastructure.
Yeah. So a lot of there's quite a few messages actually for people from America. You all based in America, are you, the whole team?
I am on top of the surface of the United States of America right now. David is somewhere in England right now, but he's from Australia. And then we have team members all over the world, mostly Europe. It's really pretty much primarily Europe, the Americas, and Australia. And then we have community members. Well, I can't say. I don't know if we have anyone in McMurdo Station and the Antarctica, but we have community members in countries all over the world and places all over the world. We have really, really, really amazing community members and community organizers and people.
You realize Dave was in England as well, like myself. I didn't realise that. I thought you was all sort of tied up, so I didn't realise. Okay.
No, all over the world.
Because a lot of Americans messaged and said they can't buy the hot token in America. It's not on Binance US. It's not on Crypto.com. It's not on Crack or anything like that. And they're very frustrated. They can't buy it in America. It seems very restrictive at the moment, buying cryptocurrencies in America. And they asked, do you have any plans to list on Binance.us? Seems, I don't know if you're allowed because it's so restrictive out there, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we chat with the legal team and regulators and just I think our primary focus is to make sure that HoloFuel is understood as there should be no issue in HoloFuel being sold in any jurisdiction. And so that's our primary focus, is just to make sure all the fundamentals with HoloFuel are understood by lawyers and regulators, etc. And yeah, I mean, we're always in talks with different exchanges, but yeah.
So some people mentioned me, are you going to do like a debit card one day? And I said that's completely. You may be able to answer better than me, but I didn't see that's the sort of way you're going with your project. To have like a debit card linked to the HoloFuel. I said to him, doesn't seem like that's the sort of direction you're going in, but obviously I don't know. But
no, and I mean, I like those things. So yeah, there'll be an ecosystem built on top of HoloFuel. So if people want to do things like debit cards, etc., I mean, it's likely be a smarter way of doing a crypto debit card than a token. I just have a general question in those spaces, like how often are they really used? Because ultimately, with an ERC20 token, I'm treating it like an asset. Certainly in the UK, it's treated like an asset. So I don't really like to make that many purchases with assets because I'm hoping that it's going to go up. So I just think like a lot of those things they're great ideas, and they're going to just take their time to mature. And we focus on what we're good at, and then if we deliver really well, then people are going to want to build really cool stuff on top of HoloFuel.
Yeah, there's a lot of sort of in-depth questions, and someone said like, is the Holochain distributed public key infrastructure operational? How does it work? And they started going, how does key management work? And I thought, God, that's really in depth with you. Project.
No, that's great. So Richard, if we have three. Okay, so we have our AMA. We have in terms of to ask these kind of questions, you could jump on our forum.holochain.org. A lot of our developers, if you've got a technical question, you can go to the forum.holochain.org. But then you're way better off actually, if we have 3 video series outside the AMA. So one is where we talk to projects in the ecosystem. Another is where we look at like low code and how to build low code solutions. And the third is where we actually have developers live showing the stuff that they're building and answering questions. So those kind of questions, if you share to the community, it's called Build It. If they say like go to the Build It series and come onto a live stream and ask those questions, and then the developers will not only answer the question, they will show you in the code how it works. That would be by far the best way to deal with that, because there's some pretty cool and complex stuff there that's easiest to bring to life from a developer in a real environment.
No, that's fair enough. Now I'll put the link below. I'll put that. That's fair enough. No, I totally understand that. That's fair enough. See, there's quite a few questions relating to that. Yeah, I totally understand that. You don't want to sort of put out stuff people can find it on the AMA. That'll definitely be on the link below. I'll put that so people can go on to the AMA. You say it's next week, the AMA?
Yes, correct.
Okay, let me put that on the link below then, because that's totally fair enough. I totally understand that they can go more in depth, and also you want to put something on here that people perhaps don't know the inside of it yet. So that's totally fine. So that's wonderful. Thanks for coming on and showing us all that information. Obviously, it's going to be a massive year for yourselves. It's got all the potential. It's going to be absolutely huge. I think you say the market cap's over 4 billion or something now. You're just rising up in the charts. You're making such huge progress. So I think you're going to have an absolute wonderful year. So I'll be certainly following you closely, that's for sure. So thanks very much for coming on. Cheers, Eric. Cheers, David.
Thanks, Richard.
I'm just sending you the. Oh, look, that's the wrong one. Oops.
No, that'd be great.
Delete that. I'm just sending you the link. That's weird. To the Build It series.
Okay.
There you go. It's just that link, that YouTube playlist there.
Okay. All right. Thanks very much.
Yep. Okay. Super.
Thanks very much, Eric. Cheers, David.
You're welcome. Thanks, Richard.